welcome to Blackjacks. In the middle of all this solder wiring stuff, what I want to do is take a quick digression and talk about soldering. Things you need to know about soldering. First off, avoid it wherever possible. It's not nice. You don't want it. Irrespective of what anybody tells you about it, flux is corrosive. So some of them might be less corrosive than others, but they're all corrosive. So what you're doing is you're fitting your wires up with corrosive stuff. The joints differ. They're liable to mechanically fail. If you look at a production motorcycle, they're not soldered. If you look at a Formula 1 race car, the terminals are not soldered, they're crimped. So wherever possible, do not solder it. All that said, from time to time, you have to solder things. And this is one of them, because I ain't got enough wire to connect it to what I want it to, and I don't want to go put in another bunch of connectors there. So this particular instance, we're going to solder it. So the first thing to do is, this is the main beam one, just straight, yeah, and main beam is black, because we're changing the colour, which is quite handy. So normally I strip it to there. Quick check. Normally I strip it to there for a crimp connector. I'm knocking that off, and I'm going to put the wire more or less flush with the edge of the jaw. So thusly, come over here and split this one. As close to half as you can get it. You need to pinch a few from one side to put back on the other. Okay. Get those twisted up. Get these twisted up. And then, like, hoping we can see this smack in the middle of there, stick them together like that, take two that side, and twist them up, going in opposite directions. So once they're twisted like that, the next thing you're going to need is some solder and a soldering iron. And the advantage of doing this is you can start from the end. So just a bit of solder on there. See, it just flows in. There we go. Do the other side. And you're not getting the heat right in by the insulation, so that keeps the amount of damage it's doing down to the minimum. What comes next? Put that over there, grab all of that. So because it's not soldered right in here at the very, very base, it's still quite flexible. So I can point it out like that. Pick a length for this. Bit of heat shrink. The heat shrink wants to be roughly 3 times the length of the finished splice. That might be a bit generous. It's a little bit of a fiddle to get it in. Everybody's favourite tool. Now, when you're going to make the next one, they should be staggered. So I've cut these off different lengths. You don't want all your soldered joints in the same place. So the typical place for doing this is extending wires for switchgear or something with stupid handlebars. Now, I'm not saying this is right and I'm not saying it's wrong. What I am saying is the way I prefer to do it. So if you've got a preferred technique of your own, fine. I've done it a couple of different ways over the years, and this is what I ended up with. If you're not really going to solder, the other thing you can do is strip back more of the wire, and then the two tails you leave are sticking out are quite long. So if you end up with a nasty blobby bit, if you've got an inch sticking out instead of like a quarter of an inch, half an inch, if there's a nasty blobby bit of solder on the end, you can just cut it off before you finalise the joint. And that I don't know if you can see that, but that just flowed down there on its own. It's still relatively cold in the middle. There. Oh. Cast off the wires, pull them out to about the same length. Knock that off. Yeah. It's got a bit of a knob on the end of that one. I didn't see. So I say you've got a block on the end, just cut it off. There we go. So more PVC sleeving, that's coming from there. I'll send it back there. Yep. Side curves. Cut as square as you can because it looks better. Whew. That'll do for now. And there we have it. So that's how I solder wires. As I said, it's not the only way to do it. There's probably like a load of people complaining about that now. But it gives you, the joint's more flexible. There's no hard, the bending's not happening at a hard point on the solder, because you don't let the solder creep all the way up to the middle. You can't overheat it in melted insulation. Well, you can overheat it in melted insulation, but you'll be in trouble long before that happens, because you're soldering right out on the tip. And like I say, if you end up with a nasty blobby end, as you saw, it's easy enough just to cut it off and carry on. So that's it. But you shouldn't really do that. That's just not good practice. If you want to extend switchgear wiring, you've really got a lot of choice, because you don't want a big bunch of connectors in there. And the important thing to remember about it is stagger the joins, because otherwise you end up with a big fat point that just doesn't want to bend, and then that's when the cables break and disasters occur. I hope that was of some use at some point in your life. If you did enjoy it, please feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.